In this video, I will go over some of the basic features and functionalities that Plover has. Whether this is your first time using Plover specifically, or your first time learning stenography, this video is for you. So first, a quick summary of what Plover is and what it does. Plover is a free steno software that allows one to use a steno writer as a keyboard for their computer. In comparison to proprietary CAD software, Plover does not have a built-in text editor. Whatever you write on your steno machine will be typed into the field your text cursor is focused in, as if you've just typed it on a regular keyboard. This is why the main window Plover greets you with doesn't seem to have a lot to it. It's meant to be minimized in the background as you write into whatever programs and apps you are currently working in. Now let's go over downloading and installing Plover. When you arrive at the Plover's GitHub page, you want to press the Releases button on the side to get the latest version available. At time of this video's release, that is the continuous build labeled Dev 10. After clicking Releases, you should be greeted with this page. Scroll down a little until you see Assets and click on it. You'll find a bunch of different files that you can download. You only have to download the one that is applicable to your operating system. For Mac, that would be the disk image. For Windows, that would be the installer. And for Linux, that would be the app image. For Windows, you'll have to run the installer and reboot your computer after it has finished. For Linux, you'll just have to mark the app image as executable and run it. Now for Mac, there are a few more steps, unfortunately. Check out the installation guide linked in the description for the exact steps. But the quick summary is that you have to allow your Mac to run Plover and then add Plover to the accessibility settings. Once you open Plover, you'll be greeted with a window that looks something like this. This box shown is called the dictionary stack. It contains all of the dictionaries loaded with the check marks indicating that they are enabled. The topmost dictionary will have the highest priority, while the bottommost will have the lowest. So for example, if I had a stroke defined in both user and main, the one in user would be translated as it is higher in priority than main. These three dictionaries, user, commands, and main, are the default ones that come with Plover. User.json is empty by default, commands.json has some keyboard shortcuts and Plover control commands, and main.json is the dictionary for the English language. User.json is yours to edit and add translations to. Don't edit main, as these edits would be lost if you decide to update it later. Next, let's go over some of the buttons on the bottom. The two arrow up and down buttons move a selected dictionary up and down, changing the priority. The pencil button opens the dictionary editor window. The undo button undoes the last action to the stack. The button with the red X removes a dictionary, while the green plus button adds one. To add a pre-existing dictionary, you want to press the green plus button and open Dictionaries. If you already have a dictionary, say if you're a professional court reporter or captioner, you'd want to use your own dictionary with Plover. In order to do so, you'll need to export your dictionary into a format that Plover can read. Plover supports RTF and JSON, and most CAD software, like CaseCat and Eclipse, can export to RTF just fine. However, if you can't get your dictionary into RTF, hop onto the Plover Discord, and we can help you out getting your dictionary working with Plover. Now that you have a dictionary that Plover can read, click the green plus button and then open Dictionaries. I say this again because it's important that you do not select New Dictionary. If you do so, there is the possibility that you will overwrite the dictionary you want to add with an empty file. So make sure you do not do that. After this, you should have the dictionary in your stack. The final button on the bottom is the Add Translation tool, which I will talk about more in a second. Let's now take a look at some of the other buttons and options on the main window. In the middle right, there are buttons for turning Plover's output on and off, and on the left, there is a drop-down menu for selecting the machine or protocol that Plover will use. Over at the top bar, you can find some of the tools Plover comes with by default. There is the Add Translation tool, the paper tape, the lookup tool, the suggestions window, and the plugins manager. The Add Translation tool is for adding new translations to a dictionary. The Plover paper tape is for troubleshooting and seeing what keys Plover is receiving. The lookup tool is useful for looking up words you don't know how to write. And finally, the suggestions tool is for suggesting words that you might want to write. This is great for fingerspelling or learning new briefs. Notice how if I fingerspelled a word, it would suggest outlines that are in my dictionary. As for the plugins manager, I will cover that later. With the main window out of the way, we can now move on to some of the options in configuration. The most important ones are machine, plugins, and system. In the Machines tab, this is where you might have to configure settings to connect your machine to Plover. The Plugins tab is for extension plugins that will need to be enabled, such as Plover Fancy Text and the Modal Dictionaries plugin. By default, there shouldn't be anything in this list, and most plugins will not require having to enable them here. Over to the right, there is the Systems tab, which allows you to select different Seno systems for different languages or layouts. After installing a system plugin and restarting Plover, you will find them listed here. And finally, that brings us to the last feature Plover has, plugins. Plugins are community-made additions that extend Plover's functionality. Some examples of plugins include a words per minute meter, an outline analyzer, support for Python dictionaries, modal dictionaries, fancy text formatting, and much, much more. To install plugins, simply go to the Plugins Manager and install the plugin you want. Afterwards, just make sure to restart Plover. Now, I need to stress that plugins are community-made. While the Plover devs will take a quick glance at a plugin before adding it to the list, they cannot guarantee its safety. After all, it's always possible for one to create a non-malicious plugin, have it be added to the Plugins Manager, and then change it later to contain nefarious code. So I caution you from installing plugins blindly. That said, I and many others use plugins all the time. In the next video, I will go over a few useful plugins that I think are really cool and helpful. I will also go over a few more functions that everyone should be familiar with when it comes to Plover. So stay tuned for more. Until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.